Assalamu alaikum. Today our tutorial is about Java files and stream. We'll start with files first and then see different types of streams. File streams can be used to input and output data. This is one thing. You can use either bytes or characters. If it's bytes, then the stream is known as byte stream. And this is usually used with videos, images, audios. And usually when you open a file using byte streams, you open it with a program that knows the format of the data. Like if you open a video file, you open it with a video player. So the video player knows the format of the data. Character-based streams, usually for text files only. Yani you cannot use them to open files that are not encoded as text data. So two types, files, character-based streams and byte-based streams. Before we start with any one of them, we will visit a very nice class called the file class. A very nice class, sure, called the file class. The file class comes with a package, and this package is called IO, and it gives you a lot of information about the file itself. Let's see this example. If you look at this example here, we are using file class. It's very simple, just file, new file, and a file name. Then you can use this file object, the one here, to ask many questions about the file itself. For example, exist. Exists is a method that would tell you if the file exists or no. Get name will give you the file name. Get absolute path will give you the path of the file. Can read, can write. Can you read data from the file? Are you allowed to make changes to the file? What about the length of the file? These are only sample things you can ask about a file. It's a very simple one. We can see it here in our code. If I go to file 1, okay, here is a file, a new file. Then if it exists, I can do so many things. However, yes, these are methods. All are methods available to the file class. You can use them with any file object. So for example here, this will be true if the file exists. If the file does not exist, it will go to the else part. If the file does not exist, it will go to the else part. For example here, get name and is directory. Almost all programming languages files, the file and the directory are the same for them. You can ask a question, is it a file or a directory? If it's a directory, can I get the list of files in it? And see those last questions here. Last modified, when the file was modified. Get absolute path, get parent, the folder that contains it. If see this line 31, if it's a directory, if file object is directory, give me a list of all files in it. This method, list, returns an array of strings. The array of strings contains all the files in it. These are all very useful. Let us test it here, for example. Let us test this one. I'll test it with any here. I have a file. Do you see it? Text.txt. I will run this program. I will run all programs from one code here. I will run the first program. It will ask me about a file name. And this file name here, I will type text.txt. This is a file in my folder. Okay, text.txt exists. It's a file. It's not a directory. Last modified, and this is the path, and this is the absolute path. You see the difference, guys, between the path and the absolute path. Does that make sense? Absolute is all the folders to the C drive, for example. Let me try a directory. I will run the same program again. And I will type, I have a folder called images in my, you see this folder, images. Images exist. Images is not a file. Images is a directory. Last modified, path, parents, contents. I have only one file in it, which is Java JPEG. If you want to see it, see this file here. It is Java JPEG inside the folder. So the file class is a very, very useful class that you can use a lot to just before you open a file. If you have any questions, do you want to see if the file exists, the name of the file, directory, last modified, can you read, can you write, and all these things. I have another example about the file, and this example has many other questions. As you see here, I am trying to open a file which is images Java JPEG. The file exists here, as you see. I will ask all the question: exists, length, can read, can write, is directory, is file, is absolute, is hidden, and absolute path, last modified, and all these things. Let me run the second example, which is 2. How to run this code? You go to testing and just comment and see which program you need to run. For example, if you need to run file 2, just keep it uncommented and then run the testing. Okay, does the file exist? Yes. Can read? Yes. Can be written? Yes. Is it a directory? False. And all these things about the file. So to make a long story short, the file class provides so many methods like delete, exists, absolute path, parent, name, is directory, is file, and so many other things. And it's very useful. One of them is list. List returns an array of strings, and it tells you all the files that exist in the current folder. The second thing here is FileChooser. And FileChooser is a very, very useful class in Java. And honestly, many students do not use it. It can help a lot when they want to open multiple types of files or different files. And this FileChooser is very helpful. It will help you open this one, this GUI automatically. You select a file. Let us say you select README HTML. When you click OK, once you click OK, the FileChooser will return the file object README HTML. If you click cancel, خلاص, يعني nothing is going to be done. So FileChooser is even very simple to use. Look at this code here. FileChooser. Okay. Then you can say, do you want to open files only, directories only, or both? I commented line 2 here to show you that if you want only to open folders, sometimes you need only to open folders. So here you can specify, I need to see only directories. If you want both files and directories. Now, if the user here, if action is an integer, if action is cancel, then do nothing. However, if otherwise, if the user selects a file, this is how we get the file name. Look here, get selected file. What is FC? FC is a file chooser. So JFileChooser, new file chooser. How to get the selected file? FC get selected file, and that's it. You get the file object. And I believe I explained to you now 5 minutes ago what is the file object. So the file chooser returns a file object. Let us see this example here. Let us see this example here. Let me just, I need to do something. I think someone is, if someone opening her or his microphone, please mute it. I think I did mute it, but I hear a voice here. Okay. Next, let me show you the example here, file 3. Okay, file 3, if we open file 3, okay, file 2, file chooser here, sorry. Okay, file chooser here. Look at this, very simple. File chooser, new file chooser. Set selection model. If you don't do this, it will be the same. Files and directory. Now, once you select a file here, to get a file from the file chooser, get selected file, and that's it. Yani, that's it, get selected file. And this get selected file from a file chooser returns the file object. You can do anything with it. You can do the same thing with it. Yani, I can go here, the same code I used when I entered the file name, the same code I used when I entered the file name, I can use here. The same code that I used when I entered the file name. Look here. See, I will run this code, file chooser. Does it have a main method? No main method. So I'll go to testing. I will decomment file chooser and run. Okay. Let me see session file chooser. We can see if there is an error here. S is equal to maybe we just copied the code quickly from somewhere else. I will just do this. I will do this, the one I did from the previous example, to show you that. Okay, and here I will call it file. So the first method here will get the file and will return the file using a file chooser. This is very useful. Let me make sure no errors in the code. Let me run it now. Okay, see, I opened the file chooser. I can go, for example, to open any, I go here, for example, Eclipse workspace. This is where I am now. I'll open a Python file. And now I get all the information about that Python file. Let me run it again. If you click cancel, nothing happens. Let me run it 1/3 time. Okay, you just select any document here. I close this, sorry, by mistake. Run again, and as you see here, you can go to any folder. You can browse all the directories. You can do whatever you want here. Okay, I open the file here and I get all the information about the new file. So far we have seen file and file chooser. Next is text IO. What is text IO? Text IO means you are either outputting text or receiving text. Outputting to a file, يعني writing we call it, or reading from a file, which is both ways is going to be text. At this moment, we are not talking about reading or writing binary data to a file, only characters. Type. A file object encapsulates the properties of a file, but does not contain methods for reading and writing data. طيب احنا we opened the file in the previous two examples, but we did not use it for reading or for writing. Okay, you do not use the file itself, the file object itself, for reading or writing. You need to use some other tools like what we call streams, input-output streams, not the file object. You do not write directly to the file object. In order to perform I/O, you need to create objects using appropriate Java I/O classes. We will see a few of them. The objects contain, not the file object. The I/O classes contain methods for reading and writing data from or to a file. So what we will see now, how to write strings or numeric data, يعني باختصار character based output or input. We will use three classes: scanner, and you all know scanner, FileWriter, and PrintWriter. All these three things can only be used to read or write character data. After we finish them, we will see the byte-based data. First one, FileWriter. Very simple, straightforward. But before we use it, there is a class called Java Writer. Writer is an abstract class. Yani writer itself is not implemented. You need to use one of its subclasses, and there are so many subclasses. One of them, the straightforward, fastest one, is called FileWriter. This FileWriter, look at this, is used to write what? Only character-oriented data to a file. It is character-oriented class which is used for file handling in Java. Look at the code here. Writer, this is a super class, abstract, but you create a subclass, or you can just directly do FileWriter. A new FileWriter, just give it a file name. See how simple it is. Once you do this, then خلاص. This file, it will be created. How to write to it? Just a method. There is a simple method called what? Write. And this write method will accept character-based data. Remember, so far we are talking about character-based data. So FileWriter is a nice class, simple to use class to output character-based data to a file. We have an example here. File 3, look at the example, very short. FileWriter, new FileWriter, and file name. That's خلاص. Then you use FileWrite. Welcome to Java, huh? File.write again. Write whatever you want. Trying to test FileWriter. So the first line and second line are text-based, and they will be written to which file? Writer test. Of course, like any output stream you learned in Java or C++ or Python, you always need to close this. So let me run this FileWriter and see what happens. Sorry, I ran the wrong one. Our file we are trying to run is file 3. So I will go here, comment this, and remove the comment from file 3 and run the testing. Success. What is success? Let me show you what is success. The file we were outputting to is called writer test. Here, do you see it? Writer test. Is this what we sent to the file? I think yes, this is what we sent to the file. To make a long story short, let me delete it now. Delete the output file and run the program again and see if the file will be created again. Success. Okay, but I don't see the file here in the folder. No problem. Just go to the project folder and click on refresh. Click on refresh. F5. You see it here, writer test. This is the text you have seen using FileWriter. You can write any character. You can use it to write any character. I can go to the code here. If you want a new line here, okay, I will run the tester again, as you see this one. And if I open the file, the writer test here, you see we have 2 lines because a new line character was added. So this is a very, very simple, straightforward writer, FileWriter, file name, use write, output whatever you want, as long as it's character based, and then close it. That's it. The next one is called PrintWriter. PrintWriter is very similar to print and println. You know system.out.print? That one prints on the screen. PrintWriter is another subclass of writer, and you can use it or to output also characters. The PrintWriter, okay, can be used also with files, like you see here. You can do it with file name, as you see here. And see how I output data. Println. Print will print data. Println will print data in a separate line. Println, and that's it. So this is another way of outputting text. If you are wondering what is this here, for example, if you are outputting data to a file and you want to see if the file exists, you don't want to overwrite it. So you create a file object first. Look at this. You create a file object first, and you check if the file exists. Then khalas, I don't want to continue. I should enter another file name, for example. Else, you can create a PrintWriter and start what? Outputting. With FileWriter, you use write. With PrintWriter, you use print. Both are for character data. Both are for outputting character data. Let us see the file, the PrintWriter here. Look at this now. I am using this class, file4. In the constructor, I am trying to output to a file called print data. But here I created a file first. I created a file first because I want to check if the file exists or no. I could have done the same thing with the FileWriter. Okay? Yani you can create a file object and check if it exists or no. Then you use the file object. Similarly here, but here I try to check if the file exists. By the way, the file exists. Let us see. This is the file available. Yani I did my test. Let us see when I run the program file4, what's going to happen now. I will comment file3 and try to run file4. Oh, file already exists. Yani the program did not finish the task because, as you see here, the print data exists, so system.exit. Yani it quit. So let me go and delete this one. Delete the print data file. And now let me go and run the program again. Okay. and I deleted it, by the way. Well, I deleted something else. Let me make refresh. Or sometimes it's deleted from the, okay, it's deleted from the project, not from the disk. Let us see this. Okay, so I deleted this. Let me now run this one and hopefully it works. I didn't get any output, but if I refresh, you see the print data file is available here. Look at it. Steve Jobs 90, Bill Gates 85. So with PrintWriter, you output simple text to a file using print and println. With FileWriter, you output any character-based things using write. And they are all straightforward. Let us see the next type. The next one is FileReader. FileReader is the opposite of FileWriter. FileReader is used to read data from the file. It is the best when it's used to read character-oriented data. We repeated this. So FileReader is the opposite of the FileWriter. It reads one character at a time. I want you to all to know this. This is very important. It reads one character at a time until it reaches the last character. If it reaches the last character, the method that reads the, see here the code, FileReader FR, text txt, tamam. Now, while I is integer. You know, characters are stored using their ASCII value or bytecode value. While I, which is equal to FileReader.read is not equal to -1. What does this mean? It means keep reading the file character by the character until you get -1. Because the read function of the FileReader class will return -1 when it reaches the end of file. This is very, very important. So you create a FileReader, you give it the file name or a file object. Tamam. How you keep reading? FileReader.read is not equal to -1. Let us see the code here. Okay, I'll go to file 5. Look at it. FileReader. Integer I here. I give it a name of the file. This is the file. Here is the file. It's available. It has some text. Now, the most important thing, while FileReader read is not equal to -1, this is what you want. It will keep reading until it reaches the end of file. And by the way, this one reads one character at a time. Characters are stored. Everything is stored, as you know, in binary. But characters, they are encoded in ASCII or in bytecode. If I run this now, see here, it will read character by character and print it. However, it will print the characters using their ASCII value. Let me show you this. What is the file name? 5. So I will go to my testing here and use file 5 and run it. And I will show you it read now. See, it read all the characters, but it's reading the ASCII value or the bytecode value of the characters. If you don't want this, tamam, no problem. Just make sure you cast the integer values to their character shape. So now the value here, let us say 65, which is capital A, will be now shown as A, not 65. You are casting them as characters. And as I told you, the read of the FileReader will read data character by character. it stops when the end of file is reached and the reach function returns -1. Let me show you here. See now, this is the file. This output is from your program. Yani, your program here read my file character by character. This is my file, and output it. Let us put another one. For example, I'll give it this file name. I will give it this file name, and the file name is writer test. Look at this. I will go here to file 5, and I will give it another file to show you writer test.txt, and save it and run again. You will see the output is what was there in the writer test. When we did this with the text, we saw the thing that was in the text file. So it reads character by character, and when it reaches the end of file, it returns -1. This is a good one. However, it is still limited since it reads character by character. Now let's go to one that is very useful, which is scanner. Scanner, you know scanner. Scanner can be used to read data from the keyboard. Also, scanner can be used to read data from a file. Scanner is a very, very useful. Scanner is used extensively to input data from the keyboard. This class can also read data from a file. Scanner class can be used to read the contents of text files. How it works? The first line here, we have a file object. Tamam. Then the file object is given to the scanner. All along, from the day we started Java, we use system in with the scanner. System in means read from the keyboard. But however, now I can read from a file, get input from a file. And as you see here, I just give it the file name. You remember how scanner works. Scanner has many methods, like has next line, next integer, next double. Look at the while loop, which is also very important. If someone asks you to read a file line by line using a scanner, so this is very simple. Look here, while my reader, which is a scanner, has next line method will return true as long as there are more lines in the file to be read. So string data, scanner, next line. So you know this method will return a line to you and you output it. So yani, you keep asking the scanner if there are more lines to read from the file, get the line printed. Of course, like with any other input or output stream, you need to close it. Let me show you this here. Okay, here is a scanner, and look at the code here. I will change the file here. I will give it any file, print data. Okay, print data. It will read line by line. And here, as you see, the scanner was given as a parameter, was given a file object, not what we did before, which was system in. System ins mean the default system read, which is the keyboard. Now we give the scanner a file object. That's why I started this class with, I did not get the last question from Turkey. I will read it again. Okay, when we print my reader, what will happen? I don't get that, but my reader is a scanner object. This has next line will give you true, false. Next line will read one line at a time and store it in the string data. Then we print that string data. Yani we will printing the contents of the file line by line. Did I answer your question, Turkey? And to make a long story short, let us run this. I will read that file, and let us see now if I run testing. You see line by line, this is the file that I read, which is print data. I will try to see here. I will go to this file. I want to open this file and print it line by line. Let us make changes to it. Okay. Let us make few changes line by line. Line by line. So this is our file. I will save the changes here. Now I will go to my code and change the file name, text.txt, and I will run it. It will go and read the given file line by line. Does that make sense? This is the file I am reading. I can go anywhere. I will copy any text from anywhere. I will copy this text and paste it also here. Okay, and save the data. Okay, hopefully saved. Okay, it's not saved. I really don't know why. But let me see why not saved. Okay, or change anything. I will just change the number of lines. Okay, it will go and read data line by line. Let me make save first here and do whatever I think is going to work. I saved everything, and now I go to my reader. It will go and read line by line. See, it read all the lines, one line at a time. Maybe you are wondering, what if I want to read one value, not one line, or one word? How you read one word with scanner? How do you read one word with scanner? You read one word with scanner using what? Next, not next line. صح ولا لا? Right? You read one word from scanner using next. So let us see if this one is gonna work. Look at the output now. The output outputs one word at a time. Why? Because we are reading one word at a time. Does that make sense? We know scanner. Next line will give you line. Next will give you one word. And if you want to read integer, what you do? How we do it? Next integer. If you want to read double, next double. Let me give you a good example now. Look at this file. Do you see this file? Does that make sense? Do you see this file, guys? Good. The file contains what? Contains numeric value. All are integers. ماشي. All the values are integers. طيب. I think what I'm going to do is clear now. I want to use a scanner to read all the integer values from the file and find their sum. You did this in C++, and hopefully you have done it in Python. And now we are doing it with Java using what? Scanner. So the file we are looking for is called what? Integers.txt. So here, look at this code. Hopefully this is the right one. And see, the code is very simple. You want me to write it? I will write the code here. Look at it. So here is the file integers.txt. Scanner new object, which is the file name. How do you keep reading, ya Juan, from a file using scanner? While scan dot has next. This one will return true. Has next return true or false? طيب. What do you want now? I want to read the value. يعني the first time it will go to which value? This is the file 56. Next time 4 and all those values. Does that make sense? Good. Tamam. So now I'll go back to my code here. Was it 7 or 8? Yeah, here 7. I will say integer value is equal to scan dot next integer. Does that make sense? You all know this one, but you have done this using the keyboard. خلاص. Now, before I start the loop here, I initialized my total and count. Now I can say total plus equal what? Value, and count plus plus. Does that make sense now? Now, this scanner will keep reading the file until no more items to read. Until no more items to read. Whenever it finds a value, it will scan it as an integer. طبعا why integer? Because the file contains integers. If it contains doubles, you need to change this. I will keep reading, adding things to the total and incrementing the count. Now, if you want here, okay, this is the total of values. Let us find the average, huh? Double AVG is equal, for example, double. Let's find the average of all values, double total divided by count. I know the syntax is not Java, maybe. Okay, well, شكله بيشتغل هيك syntax. This out, I can say average is equal to plus AVG. So now I create a file object, then a scanner. A scanner is given a file object. While you have more items, read them as integer, add the value to total, increment the count, at the end, give me the sum and the average. Let me go to testing now. Now I will run file 7. File 7 is the one I just finished with you. Do you see this? Count of values 86. The total is this value and the average is this. Is it easy to read a file of integers using scanner now? Okay, so we read the file of integers using scanner, using the next integer, and while has next. If you recall, when we used read, starting from this example, when we used read, FileReader will read character by character, and it will give you -1 when it reaches the end of file. Tamam. But when we use the scanner, we can read either line by line, word by word, value by value. You use has. Has next line, it's up to you. Do you want to read a string or double or integer? You should be aware of doing this using what? Using the scanner. Does that make sense now? How to read a scanner? How to use a scanner to read integer values or numeric values from a file. So if we go back here, this is the example I was talking about. This is our file. It has integers. Created a file object, scanner based on the file object. The while loop will work as long as you have more elements. It will be read as integer, added to the total, count is incremented. At the end, you print the sum and total and the average if you want. One more class for output, which is called formatter. This is simple also for using output. When I use it, you use it if you want your output to be formatted. FileWriter and PrintWriter, they output characters directly. However, if you know in Java, you can use format, %s, %f, %d, and all those formats. You have seen them in printf or string.format. Now, sometimes you want your output to be formatted. If you want your output to be formatted, simply use what? The formatter. It's very simple, huh? Formatter and give it a file. وبس خلاص. Then whatever you output, you can say out, not print, not write. You say format. Out, ya akhwan, is the formatter. So format, and you give whatever you want to format, %f, whatever. As you see here, I gave you two examples. One is a string, one is a double. You know, %S will output data as all caps. %3f will output only 3 decimals with the fractional point, right? So if you want your output to be formatted, use formatter. No need to create complicated code here. Look at the formatter. If you think this code is difficult, no problem. Huh? File, my file equals new file here. Just give it any file name, formatted. Huh? I will call it formatted txt. Tamam. And this file, the formatted txt, I will give it now to the formatter here. My file. Does that make sense? Now, what do you want? This S, you see, all are small letters. This value has so many what? Decimals. Now I want to output this. Very simple. Just use what? Format. Format. Let me run this. This is file 8. Guys, I will go here and allow file 8 to what? To run. Let us see where is the error is. When عندنا في error, I just need to give a semicolon here, right? مظبوط. And let us go to testing and run this. I didn't get any output, but if I click on refresh, you see formatted, you see guys, it output with Java all caps. You see the value 45, only 3 decimals. So to make a long story short here again, with the formatter, anything you learned in how to format output using string.format in Java or system.out printf, instead of using these things to print on the screen, you create a formatter and use the method format. Whatever you want. For example, let me just now here out.format. This is how you format anything you want. Tamam. Here I will say %s, for example, %s and the new line. So what I want, %s and new line, I want this. All these I'm writing in caps. So the last one will be encoded using small letters. Anything you need to output using formatter, see, أنا في عندي شيء غلط هون. Is it capital S I did? I believe I did capital S here. Let me see. Okay. Oh, okay, my network. Okay, let me make sure I will run it again. This is my file. Let us just do refresh. Well, I did not output it, but I think I made a mistake in the format. However, I don't want to waste time. I have very important thing next. But maybe when it's caps, it's let me just do something here. Okay, all small. Let me see the opposite, guys. And this is file 8. Let me run it and see the file. See, it works the opposite way. Seems like, okay, it's not working when it's caps, huh? And now let me make it all caps and make this what? Small s. I believe maybe the key is, okay. So if it doesn't work, that's not a big deal for me at this stage. Still, wallahi, I will look at it later. So what I want to say, so far, we have seen many ways how to read data or write data, character-based data only. Using FileWriter, we use write. PrintWriter, we use print and println. Then we went to FileReader. We said FileReader reads one character at a time. And when it reaches the end of file, it gives you -1. Then we saw the scanner, and the scanner is very useful how to read data from a text file. I only showed you 2 examples. You can, for example, has next line, has next, and read one line at a time, one integer at a time, one word at a time. It's up to you. All the methods that you know are available in the scanner can be used here. You are reading from the file exactly the same way you did but when you read from the keyboard. And this is another example using a scanner. We open the file that contains integer. We read one integer at a time and added and find the total. Finally, formatter to send data formatted way directly. No need to do other steps. Just use a formatter, and it's not print, it's not output, it's not write. You use the format method with formatter. All these things are text-based or character-based output and input. Next, we will go to the binary-based. I will pause 2 minutes, guys, and I have one. We are back now, and our next topic is binary I/O. Binary I/O is how to work with data that it is not text-based. Any data that is bits and bytes. We don't care if it's character or not. It may be video data, audio data, image data, or any data. Binary I/O is when you work with any data. Even text is binary, but all other data that is not text is considered only binary. There are many data streams in Java. Like there are many input stream types, output stream types, like file, filter, object, so many. File, filter, object. These are output and these are input. And there are many subclasses of them. We cannot cover them all. I need to talk about 3 of them. This is the comparison of binary over text. With text, when you send data to the file or receive data to the file, the text data is encoded as binary, and when you read it, it's decoded as text. Yani there is some work to be done converting text from text to characters and characters to bytes to text, text to bytes. However, with binary, you don't care about any conversion, whatever data, and everything is binary. Everything is written as bytes. With binary, no encoding or decoding. Data is dropped or retrieved as it is. So if you are not reading or writing text, use binary I/O, and because it's more faster and more efficient, since there are no encoding or decoding. طيب. Do we write data directly to the files when we use binary output stream? No. Even with character-based, we do not write data to the file object directly. With binary output stream, if we need to read from a file, we need to use input stream. It's like FileReader and FileWriter. We did not write data directly to the file. We used FileWriter and PrintWriter. To read, we used FileReader and Scanner. We talk to the scanner and FileReader, not to the file object directly. Here, the same way, you create some kind of input stream. Okay? Input stream connects you to the file. Output stream, one for reading, input stream, output stream for writing to the file. طيب. Can I use input and output stream directly to write data to the file? Yes, yes, you can. But let us read this. Java file output stream is an output stream used for writing data. لاحظوا, it did not specify whether it's characters or non-characters, data. If you have to write primitive values into a file, يعني any values, bytes, use FileOutputStream class. You can write also byte-oriented as well as character-oriented data. However, here what they say, for character-oriented data, it's much preferred to use FileWriter. It's much preferred to use FileWriter. How to do these things using FileOutputStream? Very straightforward. FileOutputStream here, a new FileOutputStream, and you give it the file name. Now this one, see the line here, byte array. This is a byte array. You have a string here, see? We have a string. Welcome to Java. Then I create what we call, maybe this method is new to you, but you can convert any string to byte array using getBytes. Yani any string you can convert to byte array using getBytes. Then you use the FileOutputStream to write the byte array. Remember we said byte, يعني صحيح in a string, but you are writing it as bytes and reading it as bytes. With FileInputOutputStream, okay, you send data, you send bytes to the file. تمام. You can also use FileInputStream. طيب. Can I use FileInputStream to read bytes? Yes. Can I use it to read characters? Yes. However, if you want to read characters, again, it's better to use which one? The FileReader or the scanner. We talked about them. The FileInputStream works exactly like what? Like the reader. شوفوا, you can read, it reads character by character and returns -1 when you reach the end of the file. And reads of them as byte, you need to convert it as what? Character. It's exactly the same way, but this one works with any type of data, whether character-based or non-character-based. If you want character-based for input, use FileReader or the scanner. If you want character-based for output, use FileWriter or formatter or PrintWriter. However, if you are outputting any data, use FileOutputStream or FileInputStream. But this is not all about it. We have very important thing now, how to write objects, real objects, to what? To a file. Let me show you. This slide is wrong, maybe. Oh, one slide is missing. Tamam. معلش, okay. One slide is, 2 slides is okay. ما اعرفش وين راحت. خلينا نحكي هلا. I'll switch to the code. Let me show you this. I need to write object. ايش يعني object? Here I have a student object. I need to write this object into a file. If you don't know what student object, this is a student object. Very simple. ID, name, university, GPA. Yes. I need to write this object as an object, not as a text, as an object. I need to write it to a file. And I need to retrieve it as an object later. This is very important. How to write objects and how to read objects is very simple, but the concept is very important. First, writing objects to a file is called serialization. Retrieving objects from a file is called deserialization. Any object or array of objects or array list of objects can be written to a file. However, there is one simple thing you must do before being able to write objects to files. The object must implement the serializable interface. Implementing serializable interface needs nothing from you to be done. Yani you don't have to do anything. Just write implement serializable. If you forget this, the code is not going to work. Now we have an object, student, very simple object. Let me go back to the code here. Look at this code. Student S1. S1 set GPA, set ID, set name, set university. Any question on this? So far, we are creating a simple student that we have used before in our demos. Now, I want to store this student object in a file. طيب. What do we use? Oh, there is a special output stream called ObjectOutputStream that you use to write objects to files. They are stored and encoded as objects. طيب, look at it. ObjectOutputStream. طيب, where do you create it? First you need to create FileOutputStream. Okay, the FileOutputStream is your way to write directly to the file. So here I created FileOutputStream F. طيب, what is this F? F is equal to FileOutputStream data.date. This is a file name that I will use to store the object. طيب, can I use the FileOutputStream to store the object directly? No, you cannot do that. You must use ObjectOutputStream. And in order to use the ObjectOutputStream, you need to give it a FileOutputStream. Does that make sense? يعني you create a FileOutputStream first and then ObjectOutputStream. The ObjectOutputStream will need the FileOutputStream. يعني always you need to create FileOutputStream first and then ObjectOutputStream. طيب, how to write an object to a file? That's very simple command. What is it? Write object S1. What is S1? Here, student. Does the object implement the serializable interface? Yes. If it doesn't, this code is not going to work. طيب, let us see this. I created FileOutputStream, then ObjectOutputStream, and the parameter I gave is the FileOutputStream. Write object. Of course, you need to close both the ObjectOutputStream and the FileOutputStream. طيب, if I run this file, what is the class name, يا أخوان? Object. Okay, maybe I need to run this. I need to run this, by the way, directly. Let me run this. Sorry, let me run this and see what happens. Okay, طيب. See what happens, يا أخوان. Okay, here, refresh. When you work with files, you need to refresh. See, there is a file called data.tet. Okay, you don't understand what is in it. Why? Because this is an object encoded. This is our object. How did we write it to a file? FileOutputStream, and then ObjectOutputStream, then بس write object. Close, بس خلاص. So it will be stored as an object. طيب, now you are asking, if we can store it as an object, how to retrieve it again? Okay, you stored it as an object using FileOutputStream and ObjectOutputStream. You will do the opposite. You will use FileInputStream, and on top of it, you will use ObjectInputStream. Let us see this. Second example. Look, FileInputStream, ObjectInputStream. So FileInputStream, the file. Then ObjectInputStream, you give it the FileInputStream. بس خلاص. Now, how to read it? Very simple. Read what? Look at it. Read object. طيب, read object. Why I am using string here? Why I am using string here? Because the object is stored as an object. They don't know what you stored it as. When you retrieve it, you need to cast it as a string. When you retrieve it, you need to cast it as a string. If you cast it as an employee, you will get an error. So is this real? Is this going to work? Let us see. Look at this here. FileInputStream data.tet. Here's our file stored here, but it's stored as an object. ObjectInputStream, FileInputStream, read object, cast it to student, close everything. Here at the end, I am outputting it. Let us do this here. Is this our data? The same ones we stored as a student object. I stored this as a student object. طيب. Can I store more than one student? Yes. let us look at this, huh? I will create a second student object, S2, new student, 2.5, different number, Hassan Ali, and he is in Harvard. Tamam. I have two objects now. طيب. And here press S2, no need for print S2. Now, okay, let me just change all these things to what, يا أخوان? To S2. I have two students. How to store both of them? بس خلاص here. Store S1, then store what? S2. That's it. I will save. I will run. Of course, if you open this, you don't understand anything. I need to read both of them. طيب, this is the class that read one of them. شوفوا معي. This is the class that read one of them. طيب. And I will declare two students. Students S1, S2. First read object will read S1. Second read object will read what? S2. And here I will print finally what? S1 and S2. Hopefully this thing works. Let us see why I'm getting an error. طيب. Let us just create it in a, since we say null, n. Okay, student S2 is equal to null. Tamam. Good. So now, is this gonna read two files? Let us see. Two students, let us see. These are our students. I stored as object in a file, and now I am retrieving as objects from the file. طيب. Can I store an array list of students? Why not? But remember, here, look at this. Student S1, student S2, and look, ya akhwan, I created an array list of student. And here, array list. I added the two students to the array list. Then FileOutputStream, ObjectInputStream. Look what I write to the file. Write object what? Did I write one student at a time? Or I'm writing all the students, all the array list. So now I will save the array list and in another file called what? All data. So I am saving an array list of students. Let me just add one more command here. I will just take this guy. Okay, here in this example, I will call him S3. S3. So I have three students and I will put all of them in an array list. Tamam. And here I added all of them to the array list and I stored the array list to the file. See here, students. Students is an array list. Now, when you retrieve this, you need to retrieve it as an array list. طيب, here how to do it. Look at this. Okay. Array list is one object, remember. But inside it, you have many students. صح ولا لا? Right? So now, I will do the same thing. FileOutputStream, ObjectInputStream, and I declared students. File, all data is the file. Here is the all data. When is all data? Let me just refresh here. Refresh. All data is here. شايفينه ولا لا? أنا did I run that? Maybe I didn't run it, by the way. Let me run it, huh? Is there a main method? Yeah. So let me refresh now. All data is here. All data contains the binary. I don't understand them. طيب, now, yalla, let me go to this one. This one will do what? This one will open the file and it will read the array list. And see, we are casting the array list to array list of students. مرة واحدة. يعني we are reading it as an array list. And students, the name is students here. And here at the end, I will be outputting one student at a time. Let us see if this one is going to work. Are these our students, ya akhwan? We read that from the file one by one. one by one. Okay, we stored them as an array list. We read them as an array list. We stored one object at a time, retrieve one object at a time. So object serialization and deserialization is very simple. Let me just show you one thing here. If you forget the implement serialization, your code is not going to work, because you cannot here, if I go to the first example and try to run it, you will get an error. You cannot write any object using ObjectOutputStream unless it implements the serializable interface. So now I will go to the student class and restore that thing and try again to do the same thing, and I show you it works. So any objects to be stored using object serialization must implement the serializable interface. أنا وقتي خلص, بس I want to show you two examples that I will post. I have the employee class here, and في عندي nice class here. I read employees. I want you to see this. Do you see this? I have employees text, not objects, text. And it's all delimited by comma. يعني علي محمد خالد delimited by comma. Then you have salary, ID, name, salary. All these are information about employees. This is a comma separated data. If you want to read them, but not line by line, you can read them. However, the data is separated by comma. Maybe some of you need this code, يعني. If I show you the data again, here, وين راح? Here, look, 2, 3, 4, Sarah, راتب Sarah. So Sarah has salary, name, and now if you want to read 2, 3, 4 as ID, Sarah Hassan Ali as name, 4,500 as salary, you need to tell the scanner that my data is delimited by comma. This is called delimiter. If you tell the scanner my data is delimited by comma, you can put anything else. If you tell the scanner my data is delimited by comma, then it's fine. If you have done Python, it's exactly like split. When you work with strings, split, and you give it the element. And this code here, as you see, look at this code. This code will read one employee at a time. It will use, see here, use delimiter, scanner, use delimiter comma. And it will read ID, name, salary. It will create employee object. And I have an employee array list. It will add all the objects to the array list. يعني this file, باختصار, this code, it will read employee text and create objects from them and fill an array list of employee objects from that text. It's all about the delimiter. We read the ID, we read the scanner, we read the name, and then we read the salary. Then we create an object. New employee, ID, name, salary. Then we add the new employee to an array list of employees.